Hey all, welcome to the Onion Buns. So I made a polling video about 3 weeks ago and then another one about 2 weeks ago. I used a lot of data and everything, and I think I'm gonna make a new one right now, and I'm just gonna talk to you. I'm not gonna show you spreadsheets, I'm not gonna show you charts, none of that. I'm just gonna talk to you, and hopefully it'll enlighten some people. I don't expect it'll enlighten everybody. I mean, liberals are desperate to believe the polls, and you could have irrefutable proof beyond any question that the polling is fake, and they wouldn't believe you because they desperately want to believe the polls. Especially now that you see Poilievre pulling in 2,000, 4,000, 7,000 people to his rallies, and then you have Carney on the same days pulling in 20, 30, 50 people. So on my Facebook, I have a few people that are die-hard left-wingers, and they are desperate to believe that Carney is the salvation, and it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But even they are starting to get nervous because they see these massive crowds for Poilievre, and they see these puny little crowds with no energy at all for Carney. And the eye test is, in my opinion anyway, the eye test is a hell of a lot more telling than some pollster. But this video is about the pollsters, so let's jump into that little rabbit hole. So I have been a member of the Angus Reid polling, or I was, and then they turned it over to Morrow, I think it's called. I haven't done a poll in years because I joined it to do political polls 25 years ago. When I signed up, I told them I'm only interested in political polls. And in 25 years, I've gotten exactly that many political polls. So I stopped I thought maybe I had to do a certain quota of garbage polls for them over the years before they'd start giving me the political polls. So I did that, and it never amounted to anything. So I stopped I still get the emails, but I just stopped filling them out. They're a waste of time if they're not going to give me the content, the topic I wanted. That was the only reason I went to do them, was political polls. I don't give a shit about deodorant that they're selling, or, bread or donuts or whatever they're advertising, because most of the polls in those groups that they put out are really just advertisements to try to get the people doing the poll to buy the product. It's an underhanded scam that the different polling companies do. The truth is, those polling companies have a predetermined set of respondents. And it all depends on what response they're looking for. If they're looking for this response, they use this group. If they're looking for this response, they use this group. And it's not a wide open poll where they're just calling people. No, they know exactly who they're calling and why, most of the time. I have a story that I'll go over that was the exception to that rule. And this will tell you a lot about Main Street polling. But so the polls are rigged from the get-go. The pollsters know what response or result they're looking for before they call the first person. And online polls are notoriously inaccurate because, well, you have no control over it. You could do 1,000 response online poll. You could get 1,000 liberals. You could get 1,000 conservatives. It's not a proper weighing. So, as soon as you see online poll, just change the page because it's meaningless. Really, the biggest, as I mentioned already, the most obvious or most accurate way to judge political parties' engagement is the eye test. Like right now, you see Poilievre going into the heart of liberal territory, and he's drawing, as I said, 2,000, 4,000, 7,000 people crowds. And that's unheard of. 4 years ago, though, in those same locations, he might have got 20 people. So there is a real desire out there for change, and that's why you're getting these polls, because, first off, you got to understand, Leger, Ipsos, Nanos, Ecos, and I always forget this last one. 59 years old. My short-term memory sucks. There's one other one. There's 5 pollsters that are paid by the liberals. Okay. So those pollsters are always going to give you pro-liberal. And Nanos is famous for this. Nanos will always talk to you about the margin of error. But if you look at the polls, the margin of error on his polls and on the other ones, actually, except for Ecos. Ecos is just pure fiction. Like, Ecos is not real polling. It's pure fiction. Ecos put out a poll a couple weeks ago that had Alberta and Saskatchewan electing a majority liberal. That's never happened in my lifetime. It never will happen. The West does not elect liberals. So, and Frank Graves from Ecos came out and he said he was going to do everything in his power to make sure Poilievre didn't win. So lying in a poll is part of what's in his power. So Ecos is garbage. Okay. The other 4, though, if you look at their results, the margin of error always favors the Liberals. If it was a real margin of error, once in a while you might have a favoring of the Conservatives or even the NDP for that matter. But no, always favors Liberals. That's not a margin of error, that's a bias. So you can typically take 5 to 10 points on those polls off of the Liberals and take 5 to 10 points onto the Conservatives. Even when the Conservatives are losing big, you can still see that 5 to 10 bias. So when you get to the 338 aggregate polling, they're corrupted before they even start because they have Ecos, which is garbage. They have Main Street, which is garbage. They have Research, which is garbage. And then they have the 4 other ones that have the Liberal bias. So unless you're putting in the bias, adjusting for the bias, and removing those other 3, your data's corrupted before you even start. So your aggregate poll is meaningless. And then this election, we've seen a whole bunch of brand new pollsters that are magically have these massively inflated numbers for the Liberals. And then when you look at them, oh, look at that. They're all Liberal members. Amazing how that works, eh? So yeah, you can't take these pollsters as real, these poll numbers as real. Do the eye test, people. So my story for Main Street, and this is a cherry on the cake that tells you how these polls work. A buddy of mine, now I'm not an NDP. I will never be an NDP. I'm not a socialist, okay? For full transparency, I voted for Jean Chrétien in the 1990s, and then I voted Conservative after that because, well, you had Iggy, and then you had Martin, then you had Iggy, then you had Dion, and they all took the Liberals further and further left. And then you got Trudeau, who took it even past the NDP to the radical extreme alt-left globalism. I do not support extremists, be it left-wing or right-wing. I'm a moderate. So anyway, a buddy of mine, I think I know which buddy it was, but I don't know for sure, but he's an NDPer, and he signed my name up to the NDP. And back then, I'm not sure about nowadays, so looking at Jugmeat traveling around in a bus, I imagine it's still the same way because they have no money. Back then, it didn't cost anything. You just needed the name and the phone number, which he had of my name and my phone number. So he signed me up to the NDP, and I started getting spammed with NDP crap until I finally got them to stop bothering me. Well, the NDP sold my number to Main Street because that's one of the ways NDP gets it. Like when you sign up to NDP, don't think they're keeping your number. They're selling it to make some money. So anyway, they sold it to Main Street, and I got a call from Main Street, and I was living in Ontario at the time, and they're like, oh, this is Main Street, and we'd like to do a survey with you or a poll with you on Kathleen Wynne. I'm like, okay. So do you think Kathleen Wynne is doing an excellent job, a very good job, or a good job? I'm like, I think she's terrible. She's absolutely horrible. Oh no, that's not one of the choices. You have to choose one of the choices. No, I don't. She's terrible. I refuse to answer it if those are the only 3 choices. And the girl goes, oh, okay, I'll mark you down as undecided. I'm like, I'm not undecided. She is a terrible premier. So we went through 4 or 5 questions, and every one of the questions was as leading and weighted as that first question. Like, you could not give a negative response about Kathleen Wynne. So after about 4 or 5 questions, the girl goes, who did you vote for in the last election? I go, I voted for Conservative. And she goes, oh, you're not the type we want to talk to, and hung up on me. I'm like, okay, whatever. 2 days later, the Toronto Red Star front page news. Main Street puts out new poll showing overwhelming support for Kathleen Wynne. 80% of the respondents rated her as doing a good job. I'm like thinking, good job was the worst option you could choose. So 80% of the people picked the worst option that they could choose if you were believing these numbers. And then in the next election, Kathleen Wynne lost her seat, and the Ontario Liberals got so decimated they lost official party status. That's how overwhelming the support was. But this is how Main Street does their polling. So why would I believe anything from Main Street after that? Why would anyone? It's not a real poll. It's not real results. So yeah, you can't trust these polls. You know, like if I saw Poilievre getting 20, 30 people crowds at his rallies, I'd be the first one to say he doesn't have the support of the people. You know, he's just that obvious. But he's getting 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,000 people at his rallies. And these are rallies in long-time liberal ridings, hardcore liberal ridings, and he's getting these type of results. So he's got the will of the people. Like, you have to be a moron not to see that. So yeah, it's that's my video on polling, and I just, I want people to think about this. Think about it. CBC has $2.5 billion riding on the Liberals being elected. CTV, Globe and Mail, Global, the Toronto Red Star have a $600 million slush fund that they get every year riding on the Liberals being elected. They're compromised. Just as Carney is compromised with China, they are compromised to the Liberals. You can't take anything they say at face value. They're not news. They're propaganda. Like, come on, people. And the pollsters are just as bad. Like I said, you got a number of the pollsters are paid right out of pocket by the Liberals. Well, not out of pocket, that's taxpayer money, but they're funded. So they have an invested interest in making sure the Liberals are reelected because they want that money to keep rolling into them. These other pollsters, it's like I said, if you dig in, they're Liberals. They're run by Liberals. And isn't it funny that these main long-term pollsters can only do 2 polls a week, yet these little fly-by-night polling companies are suddenly doing daily polls countrywide. Like, yeah, I don't believe that either. If I don't trust Nanos or Ipsos or Leger or even Angus Reid, as I explained why, but they've been around for a while at least. These fly-by-night polling companies, they're brand new on the scene, yet suddenly they can outmarket the big ones. Yeah, sorry guys, that doesn't pass the smell test. So yeah, like all of you getting really worked up about the polls, don't. They're fake. They're just propaganda. They're designed to entice low information voters who can't think for themselves and don't know any better. And that's all they are. Otherwise, they're about as legit as a Sasquatch story in the National Enquirer. That's really all it is. So anyway, I hope I made a little bit of sense to people. Hopefully, because honestly, I'm tired of seeing, I just put one of the pollsters, Canada polling or something on X. I just blocked it. Every day it was just bullshit. It was lies, and it was obvious lies, and it was just like, nope, I'm done. Block, finish. I'm just tired of seeing the bad polls, and I don't mean bad as in a result. It's like, if I believed the result, I wouldn't have I'm not a conservative. This is the thing. I'm not a liberal. I'm not a conservative. I'm a moderate voter. In my opinion, Canada is best served with a center-right party, the Conservatives, which we have right now, and a center-left party, the Liberals, which we do not have. And Carney is not moving the Liberals to the center-left. Like, you can't, he's a pathological liar, and this has been proven. So you can't take anything he claims. Like, even all these policies he keeps stealing off Poilievre, Carney has no interest in doing them. He's just telling you what he thinks people want to hear. He has absolutely no intention. He's named 2 policies that he's going to carry through on. One, he's going to jack up the industrial carbon tax by 2 to 3 times the amount it is now. So for all you cheering about no consumer tax, carbon tax, yeah, if he gets elected, you're going to be paying a hell of a lot more carbon tax than you were before. And the other one is he's going to sign us up to the WEF and make us just as compromised to China as he is. Those are the 2 policies he's announced that were his policies. Everything else he's announced is Poilievre's, and he has no intention of carrying through on any of Poilievre's policies. He's just trying to steal the thunder. That's all it is. So anyway, that's my video for the day. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, subscribe, and a share is really greatly appreciated. And never think for a second I don't appreciate it. I thank you very much for those that do like, subscribe, and share. If you didn't like the video, well, tough, but you can leave a dislike if you want. Always feel free to leave a comment. Don't worry, I don't swing my cane too strongly anymore if I dislike your comment. And as always, pew, 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Bye.